Sarvashashtabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedeka Satphala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnatya Sarva Lokeka Drikprada Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavatam Prabhu Kali Dunturata Ditya Sri Krishna Parivartata Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshaksharayate Sarvata Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostute Madeka Bandhu Mad Sangyana Mad Gurur Mad Mahadana Mad Nistaraka Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute Asadu Sarudatayanati Netuchataraka Hanamuncha Kadachanamam Prem Narat Kantaya Spura Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. May 27th of 2012 in New Seva Kunj Temple, Kishore Kishori Mandir. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 28, Verse 31. Puranjana becomes a woman in the next life. Akekasya bhavatesham Rajan arbudam arbudam Bokshate yadvam sadharai Mahi manvantaram param. Strange, what's going on in this one? This one. Oh, memory is full. That's why. Wondering what's going on with this stupid thing. In God we trust, others pay cash. Anyway, you have a backup. You should always have a plan B, you know. Whenever you're doing anything, you should always have a plan B, you know, because you never know when you're going to need plan B, you know, so not a bad idea. Yeah, well, I'll do it. What I got to do? Sheesh. This means I got to I'll probably have one Russian devotee in Alachua send all this stuff up to my man. Okay, May 27th of 2012. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 28, Verse 31. In New Seva Kunj Temple, Chicago. Puranjana becomes a woman in his next life. Ekaikasya bhavadate samarajan arbudam arbudam bokshate yadvam sadharai mahi manvantaram param. Synonyms. Ekasya of each one. Abhavat, there became. Tesham, of them. Rajan, O king. Arbudam, 10 million. Arbudam, 10 million. Bokshate, is ruled. Yat, whose? Vamsadharai, by descendant. Mahi, the whole world. Manu antaram, up to the end of one manu. Param, and afterwards. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. My dear King Prachini Barishat, the sons of Malayadvaja gave birth to many thousands of sons, and all of these have been protecting the entire world up to the end of one manu's lifespan and even afterward. Purport. There are 14 manus in one day of Brahma. A manvantara, the lifespan of one manu, is given as 71 multiplied by 4,320,000 years. After one such manu passes on, another manu begins his lifespan. In this way, the lifespan of the universe is going on. As one manu follows another, the cult of Krishna consciousness being a part is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 4, verse 1. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha imam vivasvate yogam proktavan aham avayam vivishvan manave praha manur ekvakave bravit. The Blessed Lord said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god Vivasvan. Vivasvan instructed to Manu, the father of mankind. Manu in turn instructed to Ikshvaku. Vivishvan, the sun god, imparted Bhagavad Gita to one Manu. This Manu imparted it to his son, who imparted it to yet another Manu. In this way, the propagation of Krishna consciousness never stopped. No one should think that this Krishna consciousness movement is a new movement. As confirmed by Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, it's a very, very old movement, for it's been passing down from one Manu to another. Among Vaishnavas, there may be some difference of opinion due to everyone's personal identity. But despite all personal differences, the cult of Krishna consciousness must go on. We can see that under the instructions of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj began preaching the Krishna consciousness movement in an organized way within the past 100 years. The disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj are all godbrothers. And although there's some differences of opinion, and although we are not acting conjointly, every one of us is spreading this Krishna consciousness movement according to his own capacity and producing many disciples to spread it all over the world. As far as we're concerned, we have already started the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Many thousands of Europeans and Americans have joined this movement. Indeed, it's spreading like wildfire. The cult of Krishna consciousness, based on the 9 principles of devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Arjanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyamatma, Nivedanam, will never be stopped. It'll go on without distinction of caste, creed, color, or country. No one can check it. The word bhokshate is very important in this verse. Does a king give protection to his citizens? These devotees, following the principles of devotional service, will give protection to all the people of the world. The people of the world are very much harassed by so-called religious principled swamis, yogis, karmis, and gyanis, but none of these can show the right way to become elevated spiritual platform. There are primarily 4 parties spreading devotional service all throughout the universe. They're the Ramanuja Sampradaya, the Madhva Sampradaya, the Vishnu Swami Sampradaya, and the Nimbharga Sampradaya. The Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya in particular comes from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All these devotees are spreading Krishna consciousness movement very widely and giving protection to innocent people who are being so much embarrassed by pseudo-avatars, swamis, yogis, and others. End of the purport. Vrindavane Ramanareti Prasiddha Bhumo Tatrapi Krishna Balarama Supadamule Jnanam Param Paramaya Krishna Sudharma Chuktam Dandastu Deva Prabhupada Namo Namaste. Samasara Dukha Jalado Bodhitasya Kama Krodalina Kramakarai Kavali Kritasya Durvasana Nigaritasya Narasayasya Chaitanya Chandrama Dehi Badavalambam Jaladara Shashivarno Gopavesha Kishoro Sahacharagana Vrindai Kridamana Vrajesho Nataparajatavesho Nilapitam Baradyo Jagata Janana Heto Rama Krishna Tosmi Vanchakalpadurubhyascha Kripasanubheva Chapatitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bhokshate means to enjoy. But Prabhupada is using the term to mean that as a king gives protection to his citizenry. So the word bhokshate means to eat or consume or to enjoy. So, of course, in Kali Yuga, at the end of Kali Yuga, it was stated that householders will have children to eat them. But actually, it basically refers, Prabhupada is referring to here that it's basically responsibility. Like the kings protected the citizenry like their own children. That was the idea. So, and Prabhupada's expanding that responsibility, bhokshate, is that Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta started preaching Krishna consciousness for Lokahita. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has sung that para upakara nija sukha pasaribe. You should do good to other people and don't worry about your own happiness. Because Krishna is going to give that. There's a happiness involved in helping other people. Like that. And Krishna gives that. Tesham nityaba yuktanam. For those that are engaged in serving me, yogakshemam. I protect what they have. I protect what they've got. And bahamiham. And I give what they lack. And so Prabhupada was talking in 66 about Arjun Mishra from South India. How he doubted that. He thought, God, he must delegate it to somebody. So he wanted to scratch out Vahamyaham and write Karomyaham. So then he went to take his bath in the sea. And in the meantime, while he was gone, Then there was a knock on the door. His wife answered the door. There was 2 boys. One was light and one was dark in complexion. They were carrying baskets, and they said, "Your husband forced us to carry these baskets." "Oh, you're so nice. Why don't you come in here and take some milk?" "No, we have to leave. Because if he sees us, he may beat us again." "My husband is so cruel." "No, look on our shoulders. Can't you see he cut herself in the back?" I never see my husband to be like that." "We have to leave." So they accepted something from her, and then they left. And so when Arjun Mishra came back, she says, "Acharya ji, how is this? You beat these boys and forced them to carry his baskets?" "Who was that? I didn't know." "I never did such a thing. Who's that, Then when he saw the basket and the shiny things, he went, "Wow. Vaham yaham, vaham yaham, vaham yaham." He actually brings the goods. To prove that he actually brings the goods to his devotees, he did it. Like this. So, karomi means I do. I delegated. So the Bhagavad Gita is non-different from the Lord. So when he scratched out that word, it was like cutting the Supreme Lord's back. So that's why the whole thing was about. I can't believe it. He really does it. So everything he says in Gita and other Shastras are true. Like that. He's not a liar. The gopis would like to say that, because he doesn't surrender to them fast enough, But Krishna never lies. Whatever he says is true. It may apply to different places of time, place, and circumstance. But he's not a liar. The coward boys will never say that our friend is a liar, It doesn't work, The coward boys will just never agree, that our best friend is a liar. Yeah, sure, They'll never accept it, And the coward boys will never accept it. If Krishna's a cheater, he's a cheater. I've talked about it. He's a cheater. He does it. In order to accept everybody's love, he cheats from one person to another in order to bring out their attachment. But he's a liar? I didn't get. They said, he promised to come back, and he didn't, The Vrajavasis say, he's lying, like that. Or Vishwanath says that sometimes Krishna cheats his devotee. It's described, 10th canto, chapter 32, verse 20, when the gopi is trying to paint him in a corner. And Krishna's not about to be painted in the corner. He says, the main reason why I don't reciprocate the love of somebody that loves me is that I want to increase that love. It becomes like a person who had some money, lost it, can do nothing but think about that lost money again and again. It's a really cool verse. Now, Gopi Puranadan was pushing Hridayananda and everybody else to have short purports. So the BBT purport is really small. Devotee always prays with the Supreme Lord that do whatever you want but bring me to your lotus feet. So you can't blame him if he does that, That's what Gopi says. Vishwanath's commentary in that verse in Sarartha Darshani is really long and really good and noteworthy. It says, Hridayanath, the Paramatma, used to come and speak to me, but he hasn't come lately, so what have I done? All my service must be useless. So the devotee castigates himself and tries to improve, and Krishna smiles and watches. Then, when the pain of separation from Krishna becomes so great, the devotee cries out in pain, and Krishna comes running and gives him a little darshan. Oh, he never gave me up. Oh. And then Krishna disappears, and and it goes full circle again. And Vishwanath says, so it's his company policy. He does it all the time, He does it all the time to everybody, like this. And so it's pretty interesting, That purport is really interesting when you look at that Sarartha Darshani. 10:32:20. It's an interesting shloka. Okay. So, Prabhupada said that preaching always goes on. You have to give somebody something. And you can only give that which you have. You can't give some donation of something that's not in your pocket. You can only give your vijnana, your realization. That's the wealth that you've got, which you can give to other people. And is the realization that you've got. And ideally, realizations to make it stronger means you have to not only give it to people, but you have to do abhyasanam, you have to do application. And the more you apply it yourself, the stronger the realization will be that you'll be able to transmit to other people. That's the point. Para upakara, do good for other people, nija sukha pasaribe, without worrying about your own happiness. Now, the word bhokshate meant that the king actually enjoyed the citizenry. The kings got 25% of the agricultural produce or whatever it is, or the profit from the merchants, etc. They gave to the king. So generally in Indian culture, kings were not doing too bad, wealthy-wise and like that. But they were meant to take care of the citizenry. Because they transgressed that and didn't do that so much as their ancestors were, monarchy is basically going out the window, or become constitutional markan. You're just a figurehead, and you're there, and you do social welfare work, to encourage people, and people are responsible for the government. The government makes all decisions like that. So it's becoming constitutional monarchy or nothing at all. That's basically what's going on. A lot of people are doing. Just like nowadays, there's the Queen of England. She's 85 years old or something. And so many of her realms are already talking that after she leaves, we'll become a republic. Like that. We don't trust her son like we trust her. So it's already going on. Okay? Like that. We'll have to see what happens after she leaves the body. She's 85, so, give her another 5-10 years like that, she'll be out. Like this. And then we'll see what happens afterwards, like this. So it's already talking about it. Like that. And they don't trust the moral principles of the children like the parents. It's already going on. So Prabhupada is talking about bhokshate, and bhokshate means to protect. In this case, he's saying, protect, parupakara, to preach, to help other people. So, and bhokshate, actually, to eat. He was eating. The king is he who was eating. He was enjoying this earth, like that, the enjoyer of the earth. That's like secondary. If you take care of the people, if you preach, if you take care of the people, then you'll continue to enjoy the earth. That you'll continue to stay in the seat as a king, like that. Because the kings thought their responsibility was to enjoy the property of their father. Therefore, they lost the love and trust of the citizen, and they were thrown out. Oh, that's the idea. In order to bhokshate, you protect the public, and if you do a good job of that, then they'll keep you on the seat, and then you can enjoy the benefits of. And there was some enjoyment, but actually, if you look at the kings, before 1947, when they became illegal in India, they worked really hard. God, from 9 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock at night, they were super busy, and there was one, I still have to find out who was the Rajasthan Raja that did this. There was a neat story that it was described that the king told his wife, "Nobody bothers me when I'm doing my puja." And the prime minister told him to become really absorbed internally. Just totally forget the world when you're doing your puja. So, he was doing that. Now, the next door kingdom was the enemy. And they always had spies looking for the weakness of this guy. And 17 times he attacked him and 17 times defeated. So he was really determined. There must be some way that he's weak. So the spy reported back that when he does his puja, he cuts off the whole world. That's a good time to attack him then. So the king went into his puja room, and he's absorbed in Shamasundar, like this, and totally forget the world. So at that time, the rival king's army was going to attack. So then they came forward, and the commander-in-chief of the army is getting sweaty. Man, we're going to get overrun. This is hell. The king has got to come out. Went to the queen. Tell your husband to come out. But my husband told me never to bother him. She called out, Prabhu, you have to come. Didn't hear nothing. All of his senses were completely blocked out. Didn't hear nothing. Then, in the meantime, the army's getting worse, outside. And the commander-in-chief is getting even more anxious. Call the queen mum. Tell your son to come out. Son, please come. Please come. Didn't hear nothing. But Shamasundar did. Shamasundar took the form of the king and came out. What's going on? What's going on? Came out. Oh, we're going to be overrun. Oh, we're not going to be overrun. So he went outside to where his horse was. And he jumped on his horse, went out, and led the battle, and the enemy was routed. Okay. In the meantime, the king comes out of his puja room. Well, it was a victory. What victory? It was great. What was great? And he went to his stable, and he saw his horse was almost dead, completely exhausted. Who rode my horse? Sire, I don't let anybody touch your horse but you. God, the stable keeper is not wrong. He's right. I don't let anybody touch my horse, and he don't let anybody touch my horse but me. What happened? And he went out to the front gates and he saw the broken chariots and the booty and the death and the gore, everybody. And he's wandering around holding his head. What's going on? And he came across two guys that were wounded. Who did this to you? And they said, Sire, it was Shamasundar. He took your form, and he was on your horse, and he was moving the sword so nice, and nobody could come in his way. We were his devotees, so he stuck us a little bit. He didn't kill us. And then the king laughed and called his physician and says, treat their wounds. If they live, then they can stay with us or go back to their kingdom as they like. Like this. Shamasundar, you be peaceful. You stay and meditate on me, and I'll protect you. So it was Shamasundar who took his form. And I didn't find out. I was asking my godbrother Pancharatna, temple president in Jaipur. He's actually probably Bhavananda Saibo, an old devotee. And he's been there. Who was that Rajasthan Raja? What was his name? How long did he live? And what happened? I still got to get the detail of the story. Obial Kapoor, Prabhupada's godbrother, mentioned it before. And who was his mantri, his prime minister that told him to become so internal? Basically, whether you're chanting your japa or you're doing your puja, you just totally forget the world. Doesn't exist, That was the way the old generation used to do things, Otherwise, the king and the queen, God, they must have been busy from 9 to 9, They probably had no time to breathe, Bokshate. Enjoy There was another funny story about this, in this connection, that one Greek guy, some guy said, "Man, you're the king. It's really, really good." And he goes, "You want to change jobs?" Like this. So the guy said, "All right." And he goes, "All right, take my job for a week and see what you think about it." So, and then what this king did is this Greek king or Roman king or whatever it was, he hung this heavy sword of Damocles, it's called, over the head of the other guy, and hung it by some horse hair or something, it could break at any time. And this guy's sitting underneath the throne with this big sword over his head, and he's thinking, I can break it any time, and after about a week he said, take it back, I don't want it, and then, take it back, all the hell, make all the decisions, in the meantime, you got this sword right over your head. It's going to come down and land on you. And after a week, he goes, take it back. I don't want to go. You can take your job back. So it's a funny story about it. This is a story about the sword of Damocles, If you look it up on the web, you can find out about it, This is the story that goes behind it, You think my job is so cool, huh? Let's change jobs for a little bit and see if you like it, for a week. I'll see, but take it back, I don't want it, So bokshate. Bokshate basically means to eat or to enjoy the earth. What kind of enjoyment is it, It was a duty. The kings did it as a duty. Of course they enjoyed something. Of course they had some opulence. Of course, but they just kind of took that for granted. Like the opulence of being a king, the tax collecting and pay the rent and all that stuff, and the opulence of enjoying. There was another story that Srila Ramanujacharya had a debate with some king, and the winner takes half of the kingdom. Okay, so it was Alavandar, I think, something like that. Yamunacharya, something like that. And there were 3 questions. One of them was, the queen is not chaste. And the how am I supposed to defeat that? The queen is not chaste. And they said, there was some 3 answers. And then the first answer was, the king is the representative of all the demigods. So the queen is actually married to 33 million demigods. So how can she be chaste, and there was some other things. Anyway, but Alavandar, the Yamunacharya won, okay? And he got half the kingdom. So he had to administer it. So he became a king, and he was administering it. And there was so many, enjoyments and women and all that stuff like that. That's where the famous verse is that after relishing Krishna consciousness and tasting the sweetness of that, when I think of relationship with women, I spit on it. I spit on it in disgust. My lips curl with disgust and I spit on it. So that's what happened. In the meantime, the Sri Vaishnavas were suffering. And so what they did is that the king's cook had some green vegetable, which we really liked. So he provided that green vegetable, which increases your duration of life and very, very sattvic. So they gave the cook that vegetable, and he was cooking it for a while for the king, and then after they were trying. So the king was saying, where's that vegetable? What happened to it? Like that. So in this way, the Sri Vaishnava Pandits were able to get through the cook to the king. And when they got through to him, then they reminded him that you were a Sri Vaishnava Acharya, and you should be doing that. So he gave up the whole kingdom and went back to become a teacher, like that. So that was the whole story. And all by a very nice sattvic vegetable that the king liked, So this is how it happened. That was another cool thing, And Alavandar, Yamunacharya, you mentioned like that. Sheesh. When I think of enjoying sex life after relishing Krishna consciousness, when I think of enjoying sex life with women, then my lips curl with disgust and I spit at the idea, Because that's how we got it. Because when you were a king, there were so many ladies around the house, and it's difficult. As it's described by Kashyapa Muni. Now, I memorized this verse in 1984. And Diti is asking for a child who can kill Indra. Okay? This is 6th canto. Oh, I think it's 19th chapter. Oh, must be like 40 onwards. So, Kashyapa Muni says, he's thinking, and Vyasadeva has put it in the book. She's asking for something which is not good for her nor good for the universe. But she's not to be blamed, because women are like that. I'm to be blamed, because I could not control my mind and senses. Then, that was pretty cool. Then in Shloka 42, I think it's 42, he says, the face is as beautiful as a blooming lotus flower in the autumn season. And the speech is very pleasing to hear, but if you study the heart, it is sharp as a razor. Under the circumstances, who understands the mind of a woman? When I said that last line, Srinam Koveda Chestatam, I thought, my God, he's married to 13 of Daksha's daughters, all highly qualified. Nobody could find a girl like that in the world now, at all. And if he says, Srinam Koveda Chesnam, who can understand the mind of a lady? Then everybody have to say, I give up, God, he's married to 13 of Kashyap's daughters. It's a heavy statement. Srinam Koveda Chesnam, who can understand the mind of a woman, like that. As the joke says, you can't live with him and you can't live without him, There's a whole thing about it. It's heavy stuff, like that. There's so many jokes out there, and probably the lady comedians probably got something about us too, So, as Prabhupada said, the fault is the uncontrolled senses. There is no problem with any jivas, male or female. They can all go to Krishna. The problem is the uncontrolled senses. Man is good, woman is good. You put them together, they become bad. That's what Prabhupada was talking about. Of course. Now the whole idea of it is Shiva Parvati Samvad, which people are not doing. And that's probably the reason why there's Kala. Every wife gets on her husband's case. It's usually over money. Money for something for the kids. Legalized burglars. Pay the rent. Pay for the kids. Prabhupada was saying, it's 8th canto, chapter 22, verse 9. Bali Maharaj, when he was arrested by the ropes of Varuna, he says, what is the use of this body that leaves its own at the time of death? What is the use of all the relatives or plunderers that steal all the money could be used for Krishna? So Prabhupada says, if a burglar comes, you call the police. If your spouse and child comes, this is love. How they pick my pocket. The male child picks the father's pocket. The male child picks the mother's pocket. And the female child picks the father's pocket. Legalized burglar. So, I was telling his household, says, tell your wife you have as many kids as you pay for, as you get a job and pay for it. Because some ladies are real good businesswomen, they can do it. So you can have as many kids as you can pay for, They like it. Make money, spend it on the kids, like that. And the kids are legalized burglars, So the saying is, if you get the kids, you get the parents. So plan B is, that if you teach them to love Tulsi Rani will liberate them. But the parents have to become pure devotees of Tulsi Rani in order to teach the children that. Yeah. If you get the kids, you get the parents. Yeah. So that's a fallback. That's a B problem. There's no guarantee that a child will be a devotee. That's not guaranteed. What's guaranteed is they'll be a burglar. They'll pick your pocket. That's guaranteed, And Bhaktivedanta Purna Maharaj was preaching to the brahmacharis in Helsinki. Lesson number 1. Women are more expensive than men. Lesson number 2. If you can't pay, don't get involved. And I thought, but 99% of the people do get involved. So I made another one. Lesson number 3. If you choose to get involved, read all the fine print before you sign the contract. Because it's not a word, marriage. It's a sentence, a life sentence. You're in jail for 40 years. Make sure you like your jailmate, So many people, just like I was talking with Matharesh Das, from South Chicago. And I was saying, what? You recently got your daughter married. You're out of jail. Get out of here. Get out of Chicago. Get out of here. And he was, it's a good idea. Yeah, go to the Dham. You and your wife should set the example of renunciation now, for all the kids. You should get out of town. You should go back to India, get out of town, go back to the Dham and just be happy. He goes, it's a good idea. Yeah, and you got 30 years left of life. You want to do some preaching? Go hang out with the boys in Punjabi Bagh and Delhi. And they got really great preaching going on. You'll have a lot of fun for the weekend with them. Hang out with them, and then spend the rest of the time in Vrindavan. Be happy, Or go to Jaipur. Jaipur is only 5 hours from Vrindavan. It's not a big deal, He's a North Indian. It's not a big deal, so no. You can do like that. That is what. And what about the kids? They should know. You want to see the parents? You got to go to the Dhamma. Radhakund Mata, Yaso's wife, has 8 kids, and only 2 of them she's really proud of. So I asked those 2 daughters of hers that she's really proud of. I met them personally. Was your mother going to come and visit you? Nope. All the kids know, you want to see mother, you got to go to Vrindavan. End of story. You want to see mother, you got to go to Vrindavan. That's what Vairagya means. That's what retired life means. You come and see me in the Dhamma. And we'll love you, take care of you, see the grandkids. Yeah, that goes on. But you got to come to the Dhamma. So that's what we want to try to encourage people like that. Like this. When you get out of jail, when your daughters... I was talking yesterday to Stoka Krishna in Naperville. How old's your daughter? She's about 21. Oh man, you got like another 2-3 years of jail. She's got to finish her college and this and that. Could be 4 or 5. Man, 4 or 5 years in jail? Got to get out of jail, 4 or 5 years in jail, I remember that one godbrother was thinking about, he had a divorce. Jayadvaita Maharaj makes a joke that the fast track for Vanaprastha is divorce. Hilarious. So, one godbrother, book distributor, devotee, an American who married a Gujarati girl, didn't work out. Cross-cultural incompatibility, didn't work out. So he had a divorce. He was thinking on getting into it again. And so Jayadvaita Maharaj calls over Deva Mrida in LA and goes, can't believe it, the guy's thinking about doing it again. He's almost out of jail. And what the hell's he doing about thinking about doing it again, going into jail again, Some people need it. Just like my Pandit godbrother, Mukunda Datta, he's like 50. He must be 52 now. He's 4 years younger than me. We used to horse around together and try to kill each other, beat each other up, and he was making garlands together, sing together, do puja together. He's a big Sanskrit pundit now. So, a couple of years back, he got married again. I go, what'd you do that for, man? You're 50 years old. What do you got to go do that for? I really needed it, like that. So, Joe Gaya, Ho Gaya, whatever's gone is already gone. Okay, look, you got to respect them both now. So, like that. But basically, some people need to be in jail, for a few more. They actually need it. But he'll come to Vrindavan, and she'll be able to manage Vrindavan also, because the heat will not bother her. And he's really good. He's really a good Sanskrit pundit. I just sent him this Tulsi Datri Mahatmyam because the first shloka he gave me years ago. He was saying, I go, that was a neat shloka. Where'd you get that from? Oh, I got it from some old Padati, Puja Padati or something like that 10 years back. I don't know. I just now found out the source, where it's from. So I thought it was pretty cool. I just sent it to him today on email. Look at that. Well, there's going to be a lot of more stuff. So and I asked him, how's it going? And he goes, she's like any lady. They want a house. They want everything, You got to give them all that stuff. Eventually we got to settle down. I got to give them all that stuff. We'll see what happens. But he's a big Sanskrit pundit. And they're thinking of putting him back to Govardhan. So maybe he'll go there. We'll see what happens. I got to yak with him later on. But he's a real cool guy. And he also told me another joke, that every lady has their 8-arm form. That was really cool. When he told me that, I was laughing like anything. Every lady has her 8-arm form, Funny as anything, like that. He's a big Sanskrit pundit, and he's a very, very good singer in Sangeet. Like that. Very interesting. When his first wife asked for a divorce, her sister said, go ahead, give it to her. What a stupid girl. She would never get a husband like you anywhere in the universe. She would never get a husband like that. Stupid girl. If she's so stupid, she deserves it. Just like the joke is, you having trouble with your wife? Why don't you have mine? I'll give you mine, like that. There was a funny joke. There was some guy was pulling up to a car lot, a used car lot. What do you give me for this clunker? And the guy was looking at his wife and he goes, well, I'll give you mine, What do you give me for this old clunker? He said, I'll give you mine, She was looking like, It's a very funny joke, Very funny joke, Look, nobody should complain about your spouse. Because if you complain so much, then other people say, what are you complaining about? You could have mine, And, you got, basically you're blessed. So Shiva Parvati Sambad means actually you're having a detailed conversation with your spouse for the nectar of Krishna or Gauranga that each want. And you hit the nail, when you just keep probing until you hit the nail on the head. When you hit the nail on the head, it's like Manohara, steals the mind. And it cuts through any distraction so that they'll sync it to their mobile phone and they'll memorize it. And I'll help you. What's generic for me is specific for you. What is specific for me is generic for you. We'll help you learn it, like that. But when they get that, I'm blessed. After all, it could be worse now. Krishna's taking care of me. He's giving me the nectar that I need to sustain me. Like that. It was very funny. In Krishna Katamrita Bindu, the essence of Shiva Parvati Sambad, very famous. Lord Shiva is speaking and Parvati is asking questions. Very famous. Usually Padma Purana. Could be Skanda, could be everywhere. Like that. Very famous. So, what happens is Parvati Devi asks a question, and my God, who would dare ask Lord Shiva that question? And my God, what's he going to say next? It's really interesting stuff. Give you an example. Parvati Devi said, my dear Prabhu, you say if anybody wears 3-line tilak, smears crematorium ashes on their body, has skulls on their body, then they're a Pashandi, they're an atheist, and their association should be given up. But Prabhu, you do these things. So how are we supposed to understand that? I thought, my God, who would dare ask Lord Shiva that question? And what the heck is he going to say? So he says, Devi, the reason why I do these things is that people will leave me alone. They'll consider me to be fallen, and they'll leave me alone, and I'll be peaceful for my bhajan. Very interesting answer to it. I do these things to cover myself, so people will consider me to be fallen and abandon me and leave their association, and my mind is peaceful for my bhajan. Very interesting statement. But Shiva Parvati Sambad means you get the nectar you want, and then you have appreciation for each other's intelligence, like that. And Kalaha is probably because they're not giving that. If they give a little bit more of that, then they think, I'm blessed. After all, it could be worse. I could have a worse spouse. Krishna's taking care of me. He's delivered me exactly what I need to come to him. So that's the whole idea. All right. Any questions now from the sadhus? We can serve. There's no phone and stuff. Nobody says nothing. Hey, I saw your lecture, on the web, but they never asked me a question. What's going on, If you have a question, you have a relationship. If you don't have a question, where is your relationship? Manishana, intelligence, comes from the word manu, human being. So if you don't have a question, are you a human being? But I don't get any questions. Yeah, I saw your lecture. Naperville devotee said, I got your lecture out there on the web. But I don't get any. What's the question? Yeah, Joe. What about what? What about them? Things are going on about Russia, about what? The temple and all that? Yeah. I have a disciple of Gopal Krishna Maharaj is my friend, and he's one of the fundraisers, and he's like the temple commander, he's like the go-getter, helping get it done. So I asked him when I was in Moscow last, hey, what's going on? He said, give him about 3 years, 3 years something. They got the property and they got permission to build, but even for the sewage system, cost them $50,000 for the sewage system of the joint. Everything cost a hell of a lot of money in that place, probably much more than it would cost in North America. It's just the way it is. So he says, Give us another 3 years, 5 years to do it. That's the rumors that I've heard. When are they actually going to start construction? I don't know. There is a joke. If you haven't seen your sister in 40 years, you can Google and get her on Facebook. The joke is you can Google for any damn thing. You can get it. Half the time you get it. Some of the stuff about Tulsi Rani I got by Googling. I was with Kartik Chandra, this Gujarati Sanskrit pundit in London. And I stumbled on the 18th shloka of Tulsi Kavacham, where Lord Shiva tells his son, what is the use of debating the effectiveness of this chanting? Whatever you want, you can get it from her. Don't doubt it. When I saw that, I thought, Kartik, this is big. Let's translate this in BBT straight and pass it out to the world. It's big. And he's been with it ever since. Tulsi Kavacham is cool, like that. And then another one, funny one. When I was doing his stained glass panel from Vidagna Madhava Natakam, chapter 7, Abhimanyu, the so-called husband of Radharani, wants to take Radharani to Mathura. And he goes to Bhagavati Devi, Purnamasi, Mother, please give me the blessings that we can take Radharani to Mathura. Think nothing of it. She tries to dissuade him. He's determined. No, we're going to take Radharani to Mathura. Wow, this is serious. So Purnamasi tells Vrinda Devi, tell Krishna that. So Krishna's with Chandravati, gopis, Padma and Shaibya, near Govardhan, in this area, Chandra Sarovar area. Okay? And he's there, Gauri Tirtha area, which is near Sankarshanananda Sarovar, Buffalo Ananda Sarovar now. Only the buffaloes use that. Good now. Buffalo Ananda Sarovar, we call it. Anyway, it's right near there. So Vrinda Devi comes and spills the beans to Krishna that Abhimanyu wants to take Radharani to Mathura. Well, we have to stop that. That should not be. Give me some disguise that can steal Radharani's mind. Then Madhumangal, Krishna's friend, says, I saw the gopi Padma, which is Chandra's crew, have some white cloth in the area of Gauri Tirtha. Excellent. I'll use that white cloth. Vrinda, you become my sister. She shakes her head. Yeah, okay. So then what happens is Krishna in the form of Gauri is inside the temple making an earring out of a peacock feather. Okay? Then Abhimanyu comes there with Jatila and Radharani to get Gauri Devi's blessings to go to Mathura. Look, there's Krishna's peacock, Tanvantika, who dances very nicely. That black snake Krishna must be nearby. So Vrinda Devi goes, the peacock was asleep. Krishna went away. It's only my sister, the goddess of Bandirvan, in there making an earring out of a peacock feather for making an earring. Nikunja Vidya, my sister, the goddess of Bandirvan. Who's that? We've never heard of her before. You don't know my sister? Devi goes, you don't know my sister? Very funny thing. So then Radharani goes, oh goddess, please be merciful. That what you want is not possible. Why? Jotila says, tell her Vrinda. Nikunja Vidya says, tell her Vrinda, 2 days from today, comes up, will grab Abhimanyu and cut his head off and offer it to Bhairava. Then Jotila goes, oh Radha, this should not happen. The goddess should be merciful. Oh goddess, I can't live without my Swami. Double language, not like that. Well, it is generally not possible. But her sweet pleadings have captured me. It may be possible under certain circumstances. Anything, Jotila says. She should not go to Mathura. We'll cancel the plans. And she should always come here every day and worship me. Yes, she'll come here every day and worship you. Jotila says. So I was designing this, And Krishna has taken a form to match the Gauri deity. So what does Gauri Devi look like? Vrinda Devi came in my heart and says, why don't you Google? And I got it. I was shocked. Gauri Devi has got white cloth with a golden border and has a mirror, a bell, a mala, and a citron fruit in her hands. So I had to put this exact same things in her hands in order for Krishna to do it. You know, like that disguise has to be just right. Then I asked Bhakti Gaurava Narayan Swami, that Oriya Vaishnav sannyasi, he's got a master's degree in Sanskrit from Shantiniketan University. I said, should we make it look like it's Krishna in disguise? No, that'll be offensive to Krishna. No, his disguise, you cannot recognize it. When Krishna has his disguise, you cannot recognize it's Krishna. No, that'll be offensive to Krishna. Don't do that. Don't make it like that. It has to be so cool nobody knows. Gauri Devi means that he's got to be white, nah? And he's Shyam Sundar. And he has to look completely white, So he dressed up in white cloth and everything was white, It just did everything white. Gauri means white, They didn't even know what's going on. Krishna, wow, Radharani, your devotion is so big, the deities come out of its form. The whole story is there, So, and I got it. I was shocked. I got it by Googling, And I found out exactly what Gauri Devi looks like. 4 arms with a white sari with a golden border, holding a mirror, a bell, a jabamala, and a citron fruit. And I had to do, and then you Google and you get a citron fruit, and I showed Anjana the photo, and he designed it like that, And then he chose the colors, and we got it done. Interesting stuff, Interesting stuff. So you can Google for a lot of interesting stuff like that. And probably, Jitendriya, you're not a computer man, naturally. But, then we're curious about, well, how's the Moscow project going on? Google, Krishna.ru, or something like that. You'll find some website, Krishna.ru, something like that. Moscow project, you'll find out about it. Which means I'll let you know at the Sunday feast, I'll Google for you and I'll find it out and I'll let you know in the Sunday feast, Yeah, but the grapevine, what I heard from the grapevine, which you ain't going to see on the website, they ain't going to tell you the truth. The guys behind the scenes told me, give it 3-4 years, 5 years, it's going to be a lot of bucks, And when are they going to start? I don't know, when are they going to start constructing? I don't know, It's going to be there. Mother, you got a question? You got a question for us? Do you have a question for us? Yeah. Who? Where?
Hare Krishna. So you were mentioning this story regarding the verse, whatever my devotee lacks, I carry. And then just, and then near the end of the lecture, that Krishna is giving us the nectar that we need to sustain our spiritual life. So I've heard that not just material things He's giving, but also everything we need to maintain spiritually, He is providing.
Yeah.
And so what is this endeavor in spiritual life? It seems Krishna is doing mostly everything. What is the endeavor?
The endeavor is the desire. All we have to do is desire it. And Krishna does the rest. But what's amazing is that I was yakking with Giriraj Maharaj. He came and visited me at midnight. And I go, Maharaj, it's 12:15, it's a little late at night, and he goes, your association is difficult to get and you're leaving. And I go, yeah, and I'll be leaving in about 4 hours. I'm doing my puja and packing it at the time. And I said, Krishna wants us to go back to Godhead faster than we want to go. The deities are always, you do a deity worship, they always push you to chant more, to be more spiritual. It's just their nature, But just like my deity was, I'd be reading my email or something, my deity says, you're dying, And, you're seeing your godbrothers dying left and right and center, but you're thinking, as Yudhishthira told the Yaksha, which is Yamaraj, in Mahabharata that Ahani Hani Bhutani Gachanti Yamalayam Teshas Tabara Gachanti Kimascharyam Gatakaparam. That at every moment everybody's going to the house of Yamaraj, but everybody's thinking, I'll live. That everybody's dying, but not me. Like that. So, I knew I'm dying, but according to my Jyotishta, I should live to at least 81, 82. So then, ask your mother. So I asked Jagadatri Tulsi Rani, hey Rani, is Balaram is saying I'm dying. What's going on? Am I dying soon? Because, if you're dying soon, she should let you know. Because she's in charge of the duration of life. Kirtama ayush tata sukha, balam pushtam tata dharma talosi tvam prasida me. This is Hari Bhakti Vilas, I think it's 910-103, like that. So she's in charge of happiness and the duration of life of living entity. So she comes in the heart, she goes, he's disappointed, he's frustrated. You're not spiritual enough, that's why, So, the Supreme Lord is frustrated. I'm thinking, wait a minute. He should not be frustrated with me because I need his blessings, to do what I need to do. And what's interesting is I didn't get the Sanskrit for that. I'm looking. Mukundak Upanishad says, Nayamatma pravachanena labhya. But Prabhupada used to quote, Nayamatma balahanena labhya. Nobody got anything without power from Balarama. But where's that from? I don't know. But, he's the guy you definitely don't want to frustrate. Balaram is definitely the kind of guy that you don't want to frustrate. So Vrinda Devi told me, he's frustrated, that's all, you're not spiritual enough. As I chew that, I go, on one hand, it must be possible. He would not be pushing. On one hand, it's possible. Another hand, you have to try. I was doing my puja once and hugging him, and I said, look, you're asking me to chant a lakh, and I haven't done it. What makes you think that I'm going to be successful when I haven't thus far? He said to me, you're going to increase your determination and I'm going to help you. What am I supposed to do? I have to try. It's tough, and when you're not a spring chicken anymore, you're 56, it's tough to do it. It's tough you can't do what you used to do when you're 24. You just can't do it. Can't chant, run around, do a lot of service like you used to do. You just can't. It's tough. But Balaram said, you will increase your determination, I'm going to help you. I thought, I have to continue to try. All right, I'm in the red. I'm in the red. But I was telling Giriraj Maharaj, it looks like Krishna wants us to go back to Godhead, to Him, faster than we're ready to go. We're conditioned. We're attached to this material world. We don't know anything else but this material world, material body. So Krishna wants us to go back to Godhead faster than we're ready to go. So, yeah, it's like that. It's Krishna's ready to help us. He's ready to give us what we need. But all we want is desire. Like I mentioned a story. I think I'd mentioned a story that my godbrother, the oldest temple president in ISKCON, he's got a board now, but he's still on the property, which means they probably ask him a lot, And he's God. Srinaketa, God. Must be 60, 65 by now. Swiss. On the island of Mauritius. Okay? He told me some years back, he knows I don't offer any plastic jewelry to my deities. So he says, we need this green jewelry for the deity. Malachite. So, when I go to Russia, I'll get that. The deities came in the heart when I was in Russia. You promised to give me this, remember? So I told householders, I want to get some malachite for the deities. How big do you want it? So I told them how big. They gave it to me. Cost them about $40, something like that, okay? 5 kilos of jewelry. Now, it was July. And Kartik is like October, And that I'm not going to see the Mauritian devotees till October when they come to Vrindavan. How am I going to get this to Krishna's neck? What happened was, then I went to 2 temples and I came back to Moscow. And in Moscow, all the railway stations converge in the middle of the city. And you go across the street to the next station, you can go across the street and buy your train ticket. Now you can do it online. You just buy everything online. But before then, you had to go to the station. So when I went to the station, in the queue, in the line, waiting to get happened to be a devotee going to St. Petersburg. And they said, Madhuswami's outside in the parking lot. Well, let's go see him. As soon as you see him, everybody in Russia is all Caucasian, okay? Here's this Indian guy. So I start talking to him in Hindi. Hey, where you from? And he said, I'm an aspiring disciple of Gopal Krishna Maharaj. I'm from Mauritius. I'm going to St. Petersburg for one day, and on Monday I'm going home, summer break, to visit my parents. Where's home? Mauritius. I laughed. I took him around my luggage. I gave him the kid jewelry. I said, Krishna Balaram wants you to be their courier. I said, but you're in the middle of this island. That's near the other deities. You should get the same jewelry for the deity's neck there. Yeah. So he turned to a Russian devotee, where can I get this jewelry? And they told him where, in Moscow. I know that bazaar. Then when I saw him in Mauritius, I asked him, did you ever get that jewelry for the deity's neck? No. There was some skinheads who were running after me. I was running for my life. Then I turned to his Russian wife, because the wife is the Dharma Patni. He's supposed to protect the husband's religious principles. He says, now you have to make your husband's words true. You should get it. She later told me can't get that stone jewelry anymore. And he goes, oh, come on. Get some stupid pearls, white pearls, string them up and put them on the deity's neck. Yeah, I can do that. So likely she did. When I get back in December, I'm going to ask her, what happened? Kantimala, what happened, Ma? I'm going to ask her. Her name is Kantimala. Her husband's name is Ananta Krishnadas, something like that. So what happened, Mother? Did you get that jewelry together? Did you give it to your husband? You put it on the deity's neck, You got to make your husband's words true. It's very funny. He told me, yeah, a skinhead was chasing me and I was running. He was going to beat me up when I was running for my life, He told me this story. It was a pretty funny story. Now I got a bugger. But it was really cool. I thought, look, this world is really small. You just have to want to do something for Krishna. And Krishna will take care of the rest. You just desire it. And Krishna will take care of the rest. He'll give you the butter, the fire, the offering, everything he'll give you. And he'll even send his courier. God, there are millions of people in that city. It's the size of New York or bigger. Moscow. Millions of people in that city. There just happens to be one devotee in a queue buying a train ticket. And he just happens to be going to Mauritius. Come on. I'll never forget it. You just want to give this to Krishna's neck. Like Prabhupada was saying about greed to feed Krishna. Krishna is hungry proportionate to the greed to give it to him. We have no fire and no desire. They bring me something, I take one fruit. Okay, done. I have no fire, no desire. You never know when the fire is going to hit. Hits 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. But when you want to feed Krishna something or present something to Krishna, present a garland or present some jewelry or something, then Krishna's ready, depending on your greed. He's not like us. He doesn't have no fire and no desire like an old person. A young person can never eat too much. An old person can never eat too little. Now, I'm starting to understand the truth of that statement. But it's there. You just simply want to present it. And Krishna will take care of the rest. If you just want to give it. That's all we've got. Our minute independence but all we've got is our desire. And as soon as you want to serve Krishna like that, Krishna takes care of the rest. He facilitates it. Deities do it all the time. They steal something. Hey, I need this for your service. Where in the hell is it? They'll tell you. You just keep, and they'll tell you. After a while, they'll tell it. They'll hand it to you. Here you go. Matakshmiti Gyanam Aponam Cha. I'm a source of all knowledge. Forget. Don't forget it. They do it all the time, You're serving the deities. They do it all the time. They like to steal, and our business is to help them steal. That's all. And they do it all the time, They're chit chores. They want to steal, and our business is to help them steal. That's all. Whether it's Tulsi Rani or whether it's Tulsi Rani or Krishna, our business is to help them steal. That's all. And there's no problem. I'm actually getting to Sanskrit that she can do anything for anybody. And when you're a young person, you want everything, And when the kids are married and gone, stop the world, I want to get off, And Tulsi Rani can give you with all 5 purusharthas, human benefits. The 4 benefits in life: dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Religiosity, artha, economic development; kama, desire, moksha, liberation, like that. And pancham purushartha, love of Godhead. Tulsi can give you that too. She can give you everything. She's one-stop shopping. You can get everything you want from her. You just love her and she can take care of the whole show, And it's cool. And what really blew my mind recently, everybody knew she was dear to the Lord. She's non-different. Her service is non-different. That's cool. Now, another thing about her, well, she's part of the internal potency. She's got a very soft heart. She's even softer and more approachable than Krishna. At the same time, Krishna will not do anything without her. That is pretty amazing, actually. Can you imagine somebody won't eat or accept anything without her? And even you don't even have to have her. If you don't have something, you can touch a tulsi, stick to it, or think about her. And when I saw that shloka, it said 7:263, I thought, the Supreme Lord is in everyone's heart. His spouse is not. Of course she must be, like that. And what was interesting, she is worshipped by the Supreme Lord and devotees. Therefore, she's Shira Dharaniya. She's kept on the head. And even Lord Vishnu keeps her on his head, which means that she's got wonderful qualities that even he appreciates. That's far out. When the Supreme Lord is Shira Dharaniya, when even he keeps her on his head, wait a minute. She's got some very special qualities that are just like astoundingly special. Now, what blew my mind was when I found that shloka that said that she's non-different. We knew that she was dear, but she's non-different. Her service is non-different from Hari's service. Wait a minute. Pretty far out, Interesting stuff, And, it's probably the tip of the iceberg. What I'm getting now is probably just the tip of the iceberg, what I'll probably get in the next 4 or 5 years. Likely. But it will just fortify your determination. That's all. It's just going to fortify your pramanams, will fortify your determination, and you'll be able to act accordingly. We simply have to desire it nicely. Now, it shouldn't be crazy. Realistic, practical, and verifiable. Just like Daoji's trying to push me to channel lack. Mathematically, it's possible. So it's practical. Realistic. Have you ever done it before? Why? Because we have too many distractions. Pair off your distractions. Maybe you'll get it done. Like Bhaja Govinda would tell me, Radha Govinda Maharaj was saying, just take one day and shut off the whole world. Try it. Just take one day and shut off the whole world. And see what you can get done. He said, we're not even talking about once a month, once a week, or nothing like that. Just one time, do it. Shut off the whole world. Pretty far out stuff. We're not going to be the loser for it. Shut the whole world off for one day. We're going to have to do it eventually. You're dying. And then I thought, Mother, am I dying? Oh, he's frustrated. You're not spiritual enough. Now that is interesting. But that was interesting. One thing is, he's not the guy to be frustrated. Wait a minute. We don't want to frustrate him. He's the last guy we want to frustrate. And the second thing I thought, well, if he desires it, it must be possible. We just have to increase. And then I was doing a program just before I left Dallas, and I was going to come here. And he says, why don't you give this whole world up and be with us? Well, that would be very attractive, but why don't you give us some sign or something that will push us on the way? We don't have to do that. Our glories are enough. It means that Krishna's glories is enough. It means that Krishna's not going to push us. He wants us to voluntarily do it. That was interesting. I asked Bhaktivedya Purna Maharaj in Lithuania, when we were dealing with our anarthas, we thought it must frustrate Krishna. I've had enough of this rascal. Now I'm going to do something tangible about it. So I was hoping I'd find something from Bhakti Sandarbha. What would be the circumstances when Krishna actually steps in? Bhaktivedya Purna Maharaj said, Krishna's never going to do that. He's never going to stop the independence of the minute, independence of the jiva. He said, he may tweak the circumstance a little bit. If you're a devotee, you haven't got much choice, to turn left or right too much. But if you really want to be a demon, Krishna's not going to interfere. And when he said that to me, that Krishna may tweak it a little bit, I said, that sounds like him. Now that sounds like him. I'm still waiting to get the Sanskrit in my hands, about it. But that was pretty convincing. Yeah, it sounds like him. He's not going to force, but he may tweak the circumstances a little bit. The example of that, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives one example of that during Radhakund Prakat Leela. When the hoof print of Arastasura made the impression which Radhakund, which Shamakund, Krishna Kunda became manifest. And Krishna says, just see, my dear gopis, you don't have any potency. I made this kund, and you can't do that. Yeah? So Radharani and her friends broke their bangles, and in 1 hour they dug out a kund. Why don't you let the water from my kund go into yours? No, Radha says. Your kund is contaminated with the sin of killing the bull. No. My gopis are going to bring water 5 kilometers away from Manasi Ganga and bring it. And all the girls are ready. And when I saw that shloka, I thought, we heard that Radharani's order was supreme over the gopis, but this is an eye-opener. My God, in the middle of the night, these girls are ready to stand matka to matka all the way to from 5 kilometers to Manasi Ganga and back. So Krishna thought, poor girls, they shouldn't take such endeavor, like this. So the sacred rivers came to see Krishna, and they said, we want to go into her kund. We'll ask her, it's her kund, huh? So the sacred rivers prayed to Radharani. Radharani became soft-hearted and goes, what can I do for you? Our lives would be successful if you would allow us to go into your kunda. Then Radharani looked at Krishna from the corner of his eye. Oh, you clever fellow. All right. And then they broke the bridge and they both became one. You clever fellow. So if Krishna can't get his desire this way, he'll get it this way. That was a very interesting story. Radharani said, no, we're not going to do that. And then ultimately Radharani agreed. Pretty funny stuff. It's actually really funny stuff, So Krishna tweaked it a little bit, There was an example of Krishna's tweaking it a little bit, He may not give it exactly, but he tweaks it a little bit, That was an example of his cleverness. Clever. He will tweak it a little bit. That was an example. It's there in the Bhagavatam. You can read it. Okay. Anything else? Any other questions from anywhere? No question. So sad. Yeah? You mean what? It's only 10 minutes of 9. You got a chops?
Breakfast till after we finish.
All right. Jai Kishore Kishore Gaurnitai Krishna Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maya Tulsi Rani Ki Jai Gaurnitai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Ooh. So tomorrow is Shloka 32.